What is going on YouTube? This is Jam back with another video, here to give you guys my final thoughts on West of Dead. Hopefully you guys saw my video that I posted earlier on during the Steam Summer Games Fest, where I got to have an extended demo with that game. It was my understanding at that time that the game was still in a beta form. It was going to be released kind of under the guise of an early access. And I wasn't ultra critical on it because I saw that while the frame of the game does work very, very well, there were some problems with it. And I didn't really highlight them too much because I wanted to celebrate the fact that it was a demo, it was free for everyone to play, and the litany of really cool things about that game. But the truth is there are a few things that really do set it back pretty significantly. And I'm kind of disappointed that the game was released in the state that it is because I feel like the team has developed a phenomenal experience, but they've missed a few key things. So let's first focus on the positives. This game is absolutely gorgeous. It is completely cel shaded and it has a very, very stylized aesthetic. You're going to be walking through these crypts with a lot of really vibrant shadow effects and really bright, vibrant colors on your character. Gun explosions are going to fill the room with a lot of light. There's these lanterns that are strategically placed throughout the level to allow you to stun enemies and also to see. But you're going to have a really nice time playing the game just looking at it. The soundtrack is very, very minimalistic and it works really well, specifically since the game takes place in Purgatory and you are basically kind of a lone cowboy. So don't expect the kind of fanfare that you got in a game like Red Dead Redemption, where it's a constant running of trumpets and mariachi type music. That is not going to be in this game. As a matter of fact, you're not going to get a whole lot of anything. You're going to get some little drum notes and a little strumming of the guitar here and there. And you're going to get a satisfying tone after you beat a level, which is your indication that you can move on safely to the next zone. Because enemies do like to hide in the corners, and sometimes you think you're done. So until you hear that noise, you're not. And I like that. It's a cool loop. Now, really the heart of the game is the voiceover work by Ron Perlman. He is a very vocal narrator, and it works really, really well. He's constantly talking about what he's doing, what his thoughts are, what you pick up items, when you pick up weapons, when engagements go well or not so well. He's going to be there throughout the entire experience talking to you, and he has a very distinct voice that absolutely fits the tone of this game, and I think he should definitely be given a lot of credit for that. This game would have a very different tone to it if Ron Perlman was not the voice actor for this game. And in similar fashion to games like Transistor or Bastion, where you have a narrator kind of overarching, kind of talking about the world, Ron Perlman does that with his character here, although it's not told from a third person's perspective, it's actually told from the character. So he's saying, I did this, I did that, I found this. And it works really, really well. It's a nice narrative tool because the game is very sparse on lore. And it's nice to kind of hear what he's thinking because it does kind of help paint a picture of what is actually going on in this world. Now, unfortunately, for as great of a voice actor as he is, the rest of the cast is non-existent. As a matter of fact, you're going to be doing a lot of reading. You're going to be reading when you talk to the bartender. You're going to be reading when you get to Lady Fortune, for lack of a better word. Halfway through the missions, it's going to increase your points. The guy who is the merchant, the traveling merchant, he won't speak. And I just feel like they really missed an opportunity here to kind of flesh out the universe. These characters don't have a lot to say. You can read their text in just a few sentences. I'd say the bartender out of everyone probably has the most to say. But the reality is, it's just kind of weird to have Ron Perlman talking and narrating, and then just silence as you're just hitting B to blow through all these little text boxes. And it's like, oh, they really missed an opportunity here. That's why I go back to my earlier criticism when I started this video saying I thought this game was really in early access, and I would forgive it if some of the voiceovers were missing, but it doesn't seem like there's any intention to go back and fill these in. It really would be very easy for any voice actor to just kind of read these lines in a, various tone. At least you would have some personality injected into these otherwise stagnant characters that really are your only friends as you work your way through this game. And I found that to be kind of disheartening. Now, combat and the exploration part of the game is really where most of my criticism falls. I love the art direction. I love the art style, the aesthetic, Ron Perlman. I love all of that. The actual game itself, though, I love roguelikes. It definitely falls short on a few key areas, and I was really frustrated that these weren't better addressed. First, let's talk about map exploration. Roguelike games are very, very synonymous with procedurally generated worlds. You don't know what's going to be in the next room or the next area. It could be great, it could be a blessing, could be a curse. And I love that. It's really, really fun to explore areas and to kind of see when you find the ending, is it best to just go through, or should you go back and backtrack and maybe get lucky and find some better treasure? Now, there's no time mechanic in this game like there was in Dead Cells, where you're racing against the clock in order to unlock additional bonus treasures. So you can take as long as you want. However, it's hard to find where things are on the map because the map is incredibly small. The HUD on this game follows a very similar problem that a lot of other games have. They are not blind people friendly. And the HUD on my 65-inch screen is no bigger than a baseball. And I mean the HUD, I'm talking specifically about the map here. It's this little tiny circle in the bottom corner of my screen, and I can't see it. So I have to keep pausing and trying to blow up the map, which does a couple things. It breaks the flow of the game, absolutely. And it really does hurt that you don't know where to go, partially because the shadows are a little too vibrant at times, and there are places that you will absolutely overlook, or you'll see a little fleck or a speck, just a smidge of a portion of another room, and you're like, I think there's something there. And you gotta kind of navigate around to figure out, oh, there's a door here that I missed, tucked way in the corner of this map, almost impossible to see, this little tiny door that's gonna allow me to explore more of the world. And you're gonna get stuck because of that, and you're also not gonna get the full experience. Now, the best you could hope for is that there's an item in there, whether it's a gun or some kind of ammo, or like an item that you can use, like a dynamite or throwing axe or whatever, because at least they'll glow and you'll be like, oh, I know there's something there, I gotta go find it. But because of the way that this game is lit and how everything is so dark, you're gonna miss a lot of stuff. So the exploration definitely suffers there. Combat is the other frustrating thing, and I talked a lot about this in my previous video. The game does recommend you use a controller. Now, when I did my first playthrough, I used a keyboard and a mouse. I can say that this is a perfect example of when you absolutely want to follow the guidance of the developer and use a controller. It handles significantly better than a keyboard and mouse, particularly because of the analog movement on the left thumbstick that allows you to move slowly as opposed to the WASD on your keyboard. Now, you're going to find that moving and traversing is very easy. Your character will snap to cover, your character will reload automatically. It does give it a much more tactical feel. Where combat struggles immensely to the point that I have a hard time continuing to play this game right now is because when an enemy gets close to you, the game just doesn't know how to react. You see, unlike other shooting games where your target is just non-existent, and I mean that you're just going to aim and whatever you shoot at, if something is in the way, it's going to get hit. This game doesn't do that. Instead, you're going to shoot, and unless you're aiming at something and a parentheses or like a reticle goes around each individual character, you are going to shoot and you are going to miss because the game doesn't know what you're trying to do. The game does offer this pseudo melee system, but the reality is it doesn't work very well. And the truth is you have ranged weaponry for a reason. Your character is incredibly weak, even after multiple levels of stacking additional vitality, even after getting multiple health potions by cashing in your souls to continue, your roguelike loop of getting stronger each run. You're still going to have a very hard time with enemies, and you're going to be kiting back rooms, multiple hallways, trying to line up a shot to get that kill. And this game should not be this way. It should not be this difficult. I don't know why they felt the need to basically redesign the idea of combat. Think of games like Nuclear Throne, one that I consistently put on a pedestal because it deserves to be there. Or games like Enter the Gungeon, where you have a top-down view and you just shoot in a direction. And as long as your bullet is going in the direction of an enemy, there will be contact. Unlike this game, where you're going to shoot and you're going to miss. So enemies are going to get close to you and you're going to have an incredibly hard time killing them off. And you're going to be trying to shoot, you're going to be trying to reload, and most likely you're going to die. And there have been so many times that I was circling around an enemy in a room, particularly as you start to move on. So later on, the enemies obviously get significantly harder. They're bigger, they're faster, they have giant attacks. Yes, you can sometimes do a dodge roll out of the way at the last second. Sometimes you can spam your items, like Dynamite works phenomenally well because it is a giant AoE that allows you to kind of hit everything in the area. But the number of times I had an enemy lined up and I threw a throwing axe and it went right over their head into the wall, only to wait a 20-30 second penalty for it to cool down, ultimately resulting in my death, really does leave this game feeling very unfinished and very unsatisfying. So for that, I still recommend you check it out, if nothing else for the aesthetic. Play for the first level or two, check it out. It's free on Game Pass, so there's really no reason not to. But honestly, outside of that, until they fix these litany of problems, particularly with how exploration works and particularly with how combat works, I think this game is definitely a maybe or get on sale. I don't think this is something you're going to want to pay full price for right away, because I think you're going to be incredibly frustrated. And the reality is, if you want a twin stick shooter, there are far better options out there. Albeit you're going to miss out on Ron Perlman and you're going to miss out on a beautiful aesthetic, but you're going to definitely gain from controls. And when you die and when you fail, it's solely on you, and not because the game mechanics lack the programming, for lack of a better word, to allow you to do what you're supposed to do. You'll see what I mean when you play it. You'll get frustrated just as much as I did. I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.